And in the first fight on the prelims, we got a very, very good fight. A striker and a very, very good wrestler right here. We got Dan Spawn and Martin Hamlet-Nielsen. Martin Hamlet-Nielsen is obviously, in my opinion, going to be the wrestler or grappler in the fight. Has very, very good wrestling, gets you down very, very easily. A lot of his wins are finishes. Only 2 fights going all the way. 2 knockout wins, 2 submission wins, and 2 decision wins. His only loss to Modestas Bukauskas, and I watched the entire fight with Modestas Bukauskas. He did end up losing the fight by 4th round knockout, but he put up a really, really good fight and arguably won the 1st and 3rd round in that fight, using a lot of really good wrestling, closing the distance, getting him to the clinch, and getting a double leg takedown, and getting Modestas Bukauskas to the ground, ground and pounding, and going for some submission. So he did a really good job fighting Modestas Bukauskas. Yeah, he did end up getting knocked out in the 4th round, but put up a very, very good wrestling and grappling show against a very, very good striker in Modestas Bukauskas, who's a very long, lengthy striker in the light heavyweight and middleweight division. You got Dan Spawn, who's also a very tall, lengthy fighter in the light heavyweight division. He is also 36 and a half years old, the favorite in the fight, very, very slight favorite at that, at minus 125, 18 wins and 7 losses. Very tall, very lengthy as well. The tabloid predictions mainly going for Spawn to win the fight, mainly by knockout and mainly by decision. He has a lot of knockouts on his record, and then a lot of decisions. Not many submissions, but 8 knockout wins, 5 submission wins, and 7 decision wins. A lot of power in his hands. He tends, let's see right here, he tends to kind of, because he is a left-handed fighter, he goes like this and puts out that right hook and then goes for a straight jab, or for a straight left hand. I mean, he's so powerful with that straight left hand. You see right here, very, very good right hook to straight left, and he has a really good uppercut jab. He goes like this, he goes for the straight left hand, and then every now and then he kind of uses that uppercut to get your guard up here like that, so he can land a nice body shot with his left hand, which is a really good technique he uses in most of his fights inside the PFL and outside of the PFL. He also has really good clinch, really good knees in the clinch, which is definitely going to be a really good thing to have against a guy like Martin Hamlet-Nelson, who's going to try to get the fight in the clinch as soon as possible. So Dan Spawn could kind of eliminate that wrestling factor a little bit with some knees in the clinch to the body, and if he goes for the takedown, try to get a knee to the jaw or to the head of Martin Hamlet-Nelson to kind of diminish the takedowns or diminish the neediness of Martin Hamlet-Nelson to actually go for the takedowns if he's worrying about getting hit in the face by a knee straight down the middle from Dan Spawn. But he's very susceptible to leg kicks. He keeps his legs out very far apart, which is very, very susceptible to getting kicked. Like, I mean, every single time I saw his last fight, his whole calf was so red. I mean, that is definitely going to be a good weakness for Martin Hamlet-Nelson to kind of capitalize on, because Dan Spawn is mainly a striker. So in the striking game, if I were Martin Hamlet-Nelson, I would definitely start chopping those legs, because if you start chopping those legs, it's going to kind of diminish the movement and make it a little bit harder for him to land these shots that he's used to landing inside of the PFL in most of his fights right there. Let's see, a disadvantage is when he breaks from the clinch, he keeps his hands low. I don't know why he does this. Every single time he leaves the clinch, which there's going to be a lot of clinch situations in the fight, Martin Hamlet-Nelson, if he leaves the clinch, immediately after that happens, he's going to be looking for a straight right hand down the middle, because every single time Dan Spawn, for some reason, leaves his hands right here, which leaves a wide opening for Martin Hamlet-Nelson to land a big right hand, potentially landing a good shot, dazing him, or whatever the case may be, and then getting a takedown. So that is definitely a disadvantage that I don't know if Dan Spawn has really gotten better at over the years. He's probably gotten a little bit worse at that over the years have gone on, but it is going to make it a lot easier for Martin Hamlet-Nelson to land a little bit more shots after they kind of get out of the clinch situations. Very good takedown defense, just not enough takedown defense in my opinion to defend the takedowns from Martin Hamlet-Nelson. He's just a really, really good wrestler, very relentless with how many takedowns he goes for over and over and over again. With Modestas Bukauskas, I believe he got 4 or 5 takedowns on Modestas Bukauskas. He just keeps on going. If he doesn't get the takedown, he's going to get right in the clinch and just hold you there until he finds an opening to get you down. He has some decent grappling. Again, not going to have the grappling or wrestling advantage over Martin Hamlet-Nelson in the fight. And then Martin Hamlet-Nelson is obviously going to be the wrestler in the fight. I've been talking about this whole entire video. Obviously, very, very good wrestling. He does a very good job of getting the takedown. He kind of puts up the jab and then goes down for a double leg. If he doesn't get it, he kind of stays in the clinch for a little bit and he just waits for that opportunity. It lands a couple of jabs and then goes for the double leg. He doesn't really go for any single legs, mainly just double legs off the clinch or just double legs right in the middle of the cage. After his opponent goes for a right hand and kind of overcommits distance himself a little bit. He goes for that double leg in the middle of the cage. Pretty good ground and pound, mainly just snappy elbows on the ground. He doesn't really like to wind up like this because it makes it a little bit easier for his opponent to get right back up on the feet, and that's not a good thing for you like Marthin Hamlet Nelson, who's gonna want to kind of control you the whole entire time, and it's a good thing for him to use those elbows, those really short elbows kind of like that, to make it easier for him not to be able to get the fight right back up on the feet, for him to just keep on landing damage on his opponent without really having that issue of if the fight is going to be back up on the feet, because it's going to be a lot easier if he's going like this for them to get back up on the feet, because you're not really having that control with your other hand when he's doing those ground and pound shots. But in his striking, he doesn't really have the best striking. I'm obviously going to have Dan Spawn in the striking advantage. He usually only uses his striking to kind of set up his takedowns. That's pretty much the only thing he really does. Once he gets in the clinch, goes for the double leg, not really the single leg, puts him on the cage, and then gets him down. That's just what he does every single time. Marthin, his main way of winning the fight, obviously, keep the fight on the feet. Make it a lengthy, kind of a ranged fight, because he's going to have that height and reach advantage in the fight, 3 inches taller, and I believe he's going to have like a 2 or 3 inch reach advantage over Marthin Hamlet Nelson in the fight. So a lot of advantages in the striking game for Dan Spawn, but Marthin Hamlet Nelson is probably going to do really, really good in the clinch, and really, really good with his ground and pound, with those elbows in the ground and pound game in this fight. I think Spawn right here is going to defend every single one of the takedowns. Just kidding. No way he's going to defend every single one of the takedowns. You see that one fight, I encourage you, look up the fight with Modestas Bukauskas and Marthin Hamlet Nelson. I mean, he literally only defended like 25% of the takedowns. Marthin Hamlet Nelson just kept on going over and over and over again for takedown after takedown after takedown. It's going to be so hard for Spawn to defend all these takedowns right here. He has some pretty decent takedown defense, pretty good submission defense, everything like that. But if Marthin Hamlet Nelson gets you down, he's going to control you, he's going to ground and pound you, and he's probably going to dominate and get a decision or a TKO win. I think Spawn, his main way of winning, obviously, is keep the fight on the feet and get a knockout with a nice straight left hand, or one of these check right hooks. But those are the only real things I really see Dan Spawn doing good at in the fight. But with those left hands, I mean, he does have a lot of good straight left hands. But if he does find himself in the clinch with Marthin Hamlet Nelson, I'm gonna say it right now, it's gonna be kind of over for Dan Spawn. Even though he is the favorite in the fight, most people are saying that. Most people are giving him the win in the fight, mainly because he does have a lot of power in his hands, a very, very good straight left hand. Very possibly gets a knockout here on Marthin Hamlet Nelson and controls the fight on the feet and defends the takedowns. But with how relentless Marthin Hamlet Nelson is, with going for takedown after takedown after takedown, I'm sorry, I'm going with the underdog here. I'm going with Marthin Hamlet Nelson to go out there, get a takedown, get the fight in the clinch, and get the fight down as soon as possible. Ground and pound with those short, snappy elbows, and just control the fight for 3 straight rounds, in my opinion. This should be a really, really good fight. I'm curious to see how well Dan Spawn does in the clinch, if he can get out of those clinch situations, because if he can get out of those clinch situations, it'll kind of reduce the factors of Marthin Hamlet Nelson to be able to get the takedowns. But overall, I think Marthin Hamlet Nelson will get a couple of takedowns, probably 4 takedowns in this entire fight, and win the fight by 30-27 unanimous decision. So yeah, that is my first underdog that I have for PFL 2021 number 2 regular season. In the fight after that, we got a really, really good fight right here. A very, very good kickboxer in Sadie Boy C, 8 wins, 5 losses, and 2 draws in the welterweight division. And then we got an absolute beast right here, Nikolay Alakazin, 26 wins and 5 losses in the prime of his MMA career. Way smaller and a way, way less of a reach than Sadie Boy C. I mean, you see right here. I mean, come on. Oh my god. 6 foot 3 inches tall, 5 inches taller than Nikolay in the fight. And then, oh my god, you see that right there. 80-inch reach in the welterweight division. I mean, Israel Adesanya has an 80-inch reach in the middleweight division, and this man has an 80-inch reach in the welterweight division. Absolutely insane. But he's definitely a kickboxer. Really, really good body kicks and very, very good snapping head kicks. So really powerful kicks. You see right here, they knock it over David Machad. Literally in 17 seconds, one shot to the kidney of David Machad, put him out really, really fast. With Kylo Magalhaes, first knockout win right there, and then earlier in his career, a first and a head kick KO win in 41 seconds. A lot of power in his kicks and a lot of power in his hands. You look right here, 6 knockout wins and 2 decision wins. He's going out there, he's trying to knock you out. He's trying to keep the fight in the feet and win the fight by knockout, or dominate the fight in the striking game and win the fight by unanimous decision. he has a couple of fights inside of the PFL to Bruno Santos, an absolute beast, and Abu Subian Magomedov, and Glyco Francis. Even got a draw with Ray Cooper III, which is very, very impressive. But in that fight with Ray Cooper III, he got taken down quite a bit in the fight. I mean, we already know Nikolay Alakazin has some pretty good wrestling of his own. 26 wins and 5 losses. Is also mainly a striker, but has some pretty good wrestling and grappling to fall back on in the fight. You look right here. I mean, he's fought guys like Ben Askren, Bojan Velikovic, all of these are really, really good fights. He's had a 1 championship and Serbia regional. He's an absolutely so many finishes, 10 knockout wins, 11 decision wins, and 4 submission wins. Mainly he goes out there when the other guy, when his opponent does not have that humongous reach and height advantage, he usually keeps the fight on the feet and makes it a striking fight. Tries to land a nice right hand, get a knockout in most of his fights. But considering the height and reach of Sadie Boy C, this is gonna be really, really hard for Nikolay Alakazin to land these shots that he's usually trying to go out there and trying to land in most of his fights. But Sadie Boy C has some pretty okay takedown defense. Nikolay has pretty good takedowns of his own, so I think there is definitely a wrestling advantage for Nikolay Alakazin in the fight, and that could be definitely a good avenue for him to win the fight. Just to kind of clinch up and wrestle with a guy like Sadie Boy C, who we saw in his last fight with Ray Cooper III, did not really have the best takedown defense. Again, very, very good body kicks, and he uses his range so well, so tall, and so lengthy. And his right hand is very powerful. His kicks are very, very, very powerful. And he kind of sets up a little switch kick, goes to the body. You go like this, and you leave your head exposed, and he switches it up and gets you in the head. I mean, he's so good. He perfected that so well. I mean, he's very dangerous in the striking game right here, which is why I don't really think he's gonna want to hang with Sadie Boy C in the striking game for very long. He does have some pretty good striking, but again, no one wants to stay in the striking game with a guy that has an 80-inch reach and is 6'3" tall. Nikolay Alakazin is also a striker with good wrestling as well, good scrambling abilities after he's been taken down, but that's not going to really be a factor here because the only guy that's been able to kind of control Nikolay Alakazin in any of his fights was Ben Askren, an All-American wrestler, one of the best wrestlers in the lightweight division. He's very, very good calf kicks, which is going to be a really good factor against a guy like Sadie Boy C, who really relies on that movement in his reach and height, everything like that. And if you eliminate that movement from a Sadie Boy C, it eliminates pretty much every one of his attacks, so he needs to chop those legs of Sadie Boy C in the fight. He has really, really good calf kicks as well. He is very, very strong. If he gets your opponent into the clinch, he can just keep him there and get his takedown very, very easily. Very good left hook to straight right. He goes like this, and then he goes like that. No, sorry, this is my left hand. He goes like this, and then goes like that, and it kind of opens up a lot of good shots on normal opponents, but this is not a normal opponent in Sadie Boy C. The man is so tall, so lengthy. I mean, all these striking, all the things that he's really good at in his striking game. The only thing I really think is going to play a factor for Nikolay Alakazin in the striking game would be those calf kicks. Other than that, I honestly think he should just wrestle this entire fight. He has some pretty good front kicks as well. A very, very fast uppercut jab, but I think he should just wrestle and grapple Sadie Boy C in the fight. Just not risk the striking and kickboxing of Sadie Boy C, because that is very, very dangerous. You're opening up all those opportunities for him to land body kicks, leg kicks, head kicks, big right hands, big left hands, whatever the case may be. You don't want to strike with Sadie Boy C. So, in my opinion, Nikolay Alakazin's best way to win the fight is to grapple and wrestle, and I think that would be a very good idea here. Now, both fighters do have very, very good power in their hands. Both have most of their wins coming by KO TKO. Sadie Boy C will 100% want the fight stay on the feet. Nikolay most likely is going to win the fight to go to the ground. But we saw the last fight with Sadie Boy C with Ray Cooper III. His takedown defense didn't really impress me, so I think Nikolay Alakazin will go out there, play more of a wrestling and grappling based game plan. Who knows, maybe even in the striking game, he does very, very good. I just don't know how he's going to overcome that high end reach of Sadie Boy C, but he always has the wrestling and grappling to fall back on, so I think this fight will go all the way, and he'll use his grappling and wrestling advantages over Sadie Boy C, and keep the fight very, very even in the striking game, get the fight in the clinch as soon as possible, get takedown after takedown after takedown, and win this fight by 29-28, unanimous decision. Should be a really, really good welterweight fight right here, but I'm definitely going with Nikolay Alakazin to win the fight by unanimous decision. After that, guys, we have two very, very good wrestlers and grapplers in Cesar Fajeda and Nick Rokerik. This fight is a light heavyweight fight right here. Cesar Fajeda, I mean, the man's an absolute beast. For those of you who do not know Cesar Fajeda, these are the guys he has beaten in his UFC career. Carl Robertson, Jack Hermanson, a top 10 light heavyweight fighter in the world. Anthony Smith, a former UFC title challenger. He's fought in Jorge Masvidal, which is just absolutely insane. Fought Andrew Craig, fought Daniel Sarifian, Thiago Santos. I mean, how is he fighting Thiago Santos? Just absolutely insane. And beating Thiago Santos by submission. So he's beaten two title challengers inside of the UFC. A former UFC, I believe he was an Ultimate Fighter Brazil season winner in the very, very first season. But really, really good grappling. Most of his wins, I believe 9 or 10 wins, coming by submission right here. Never mind, 6 submission wins, 6 decision wins, and 4 knockout wins. So really good grappling and really, really good submission skills right there. If you look at how he wins those fights by submission, arm triangle, you go down here, guillotine and guillotine. So it's pretty much just arm triangles and guillotines. Those are the main ways that he gets submissions in his fights. He's gonna have the reach advantage, and then Nick Rokerik will have the height advantage in the fight. Nick Rokerik, mainly a wrestler in my opinion, tries to get you down and dominate you in the grappling game. Not a lot of finishes on his record. 3 submission wins, 1 knockout win, and 5 decision wins. Tries to get you down and control you on the ground. It's going to be very hard for him to do against a guy like Cesar Fajeda, who is so dangerous in the submission game. But this should be a really, really good fight right here. First off, obviously, Cesar Fajeda is definitely going to be a grappler in the fight. Very, very good grappling and submission skills, obviously. Fought inside the UFC, beat Anthony Smith, Thiago Santos, Carl Robertson. All these are really, really good strikers and grapplers inside the UFC. Obviously, amazing submissions. Not really the best striker. That's the only real fault, in my opinion, that I have for Cesar Fajeda. Not really the best striking. Again, like most grapplers inside the UFC, he kind of uses the striking to set up the grappling and takedowns and clinch situations. So, I mean, yeah, not really the best striking, but he's going to have the height advantage, which might help him kind of close the distance so he can get the takedown on Nick Rokerik in the fight. But Nick Rokerik, wrestler-ish. He's sort of a wrestler, sort of a striker, not really the best striker, not really the best wrestler, sort of average in pretty much every facet of the game. Main way he wins, takes it down, holds it there, lands some not really too significant ground and pound, and tries to get the decision win or a submission win. Not really the best striking, but probably going to have a little bit better striking than Cesar Fajeda. Again, both fighters, in my opinion, don't really have the best striking. I think the fight will mainly be spent in the clinch and in the grappling and wrestling game in this fight. He does get reversed very, very often. I went through pretty much every single one of his fights, and he gets reversed very, very easily. And if you're getting reversed by those guys outside of the UFC, outside of the PFL, outside of Bellator, all these organizations, I think 100% Cesar Fajeda can do a good job of reversing and getting on top of you and getting an arm triangle, getting a guillotine, whatever the case may be. So I think Cesar Fajeda will 100% have the grappling advantage. Nick Rokerik maybe has a little bit of a strength advantage, has a little bit of an age advantage, just a little bit of a height advantage. Overall, Cesar Fajeda, if he gets Nick Rokerik to the ground, most likely, possibly could submit him in the first or second round, or just down to the fight in the grappling and wrestling game and win the fight by 30-27 unanimous decision. A lot of people are saying the fight is going to go all the way. In my opinion, I also think the fight will go all the way. Cesar Fajeda is an absolute beast. I have him going out there dominating every single one of the rounds in the grappling and wrestling game, keeping the fight very even in the striking game, and overall winning the fight by 30-27 unanimous decision. Should be a really, really good light heavyweight fight right there. And then after that, guys, we have another grappler on the fight card in Vinnie Margalis and Jordan Young. This fight is a short notice fight, I believe. Jordan Young was supposed to be fighting Emiliano Ramo, but Rama ended up withdrawing from the fight, and now Vinnie Margalis is stepping in on short notice. 19 wins and 12 losses. The man has been fighting for absolutely forever. He's 36 years old, more than 30 fights on his professional MMA record. Been fighting since 2006, fighting on the Ultimate Fighter Season 8, and fighting the Ultimate Fighter finale against Ryan Bader. A lot of wins early in his career. He fought inside of Bellator, I believe, inside the UFC. Fought guys like Phil Davis, Ryan Bader. Fought inside the PFL. I believe he almost got in the quarterfinals or semifinals inside the PFL. I believe this was actually the championship right here. It was the tournament championship against Sean O'Connell. He did lose the fight by third round at TKO, but he's a very, very good grappler, 100%. Pretty much the same height, a little bit of of a reach advantage for Jordan Young in the fight. A very, very good grappling from both fighters in the fight. Vinnie Margalis, a lot of submissions on his record, 17. Oh my god, 17 submission wins on his record, 4 knockout wins, and 1 decision win on his record. Inside of the PFL, his main way of winning the fight by submission is either by armbar submission or by Kimura submission. First on armbar, first on Kimura, and then first on rear naked choke submission. He's been doing really, really good at getting side control and getting a Kimura or setting up a nice armbar submission or something like that. Most of his submissions aren't really chokes, aren't really trying to break your leg. He's trying to break your arms, something like that. Getting a Kimura or a armbar submission win. Jordan Young, a lot of rear naked choke submissions on his record so far. A lot of triangle choke submissions as well. Pretty much every single one of his wins, except for these 2 wins right here, have been submissions, which is absolutely insane. 9 submission wins, then 2 decision wins. He might have a slight technical striking advantage over Vinnie Margalis. As he will have the height and reach advantage, but Vinnie Margalis will have the power advantage in the striking game right here. Let's see if we can go down to here right here. Vinnie Margalis, he is very experienced, fighting since 2006. That is insane. I was born in 2006. That is just absolutely insane. Once he gets you down, his first move to get you in side control and get a Kimura or get an armbar submission or just control you there and wait till he finds the opportunity to actually get the submission. He is definitely a finisher. Only 2 fights in his professional MMA career going all the way, which is absolutely insane. A really good leg kick as well. Jordan Young is definitely going to be the wrestler in the fight. Dangerous from the bottom. Really good triangle submissions. Very good ground and pound and good submission defense. But I don't know if his submission defense is good enough to defend the submissions from Vinnie Margalis. But we'll see what happens right there. It's a really close fight right there. Minus 110 and then minus 115. Sorry, he also has very good leg kicks and pretty good kickboxing as well. I think he's going to have the technical striking advantage, but again, as I said at the beginning of the video, Vinnie Margalis will have the power advantage in the striking game. Overall, I don't really think the striking is going to play a big factor here. Mainly, the fight will probably be spent either in the clinch or in the grappling and wrestling game, so I don't really think the striking and kickboxing, anything like that, is going to play the biggest factor in the fight, but honestly, I think both fighters are very good wrestlers, very good grapplers. Literally like 70% both fighters' wins are coming by submission. Really good submission wins, really good wrestling, and a really good grappling from both fighters right here. It's just who has the better grappling, who has the better wrestling, who has the better submissions, and in my opinion, that is going to be going to Vinnie Margalis. Even though he's a little bit older, he still has very, very good submissions. He goes, once he misses that armbar submission, he goes for a leg lock. Once he misses the leg lock, he's going to go for a guillotine. He just keeps on going and going and going over and over and over again. He's going to have a little bit of a strength advantage in my opinion. This is going to be a really, really close fight in my opinion, but I will be going with Vinnie Margalis to go out there and win the fight. Possibly by submission in the first or second round, but in my opinion, I think the fight will go all the way. Considering Jordan Young has some pretty good submission defense, but has never been submitted in his professional MMA career, so I think the fight will go all the way. And because Vinnie Margalis has a little bit better wrestling, a little bit stronger, and a little bit better grappling, in my opinion, I will be going with Vinnie Margalis to win the fight on my 29-28 unanimous decision. This is another underdog on the fight card, 32% going Margalis and 68% going Young to win the fight. The betting odds very, very close, minus 115 and then minus 110, but I will be going with the slight underdog in Vinnie Margalis to win the fight on my 30-27 or 29-28 unanimous decision. So far, guys, I already got 2 underdogs on the fight card in Vinnie Margalis and then Martin Hamlin Nelson. So we'll see if those underdog picks pan out on Thursday of this week, just 2 days away. But guess what, guys? We have yet another grappler on this PFL fight card. I mean, come on, how many grapplers on this fight card? Oh my gosh. But we have Antonio Carlos Jr. and Tom Malala. This is a short notice fight. Tom Malala was supposed to be fighting Jordan Johnson. He ended up withdrawing from the fight. Now Antonio Carlos Jr. is stepping in on short notice in a light heavyweight fight right here. Antonio Carlos Jr. on a 3-fight losing streak. In the prime of his MMA career. Really tall and very, very lengthy. 79-inch reach. 6 foot 2 inches tall. And then 31 years old. Those are all in play. Humongous factors for Antonio Carlos Jr. in the fight. 10 wins and 5 losses, a lot of submissions and a lot of decision wins, 9 submission wins and 2 decision wins. Fought in the Ultimate Fighter. Which season was that? Brazil season 3. I believe he won that whole entire season inside the UFC. Went pretty up and down. Beat Marvin Vettori, who's about to get a title shot inside the UFC. I believe against Israel Adesanya. Beat Tim Bosch, Jack Marshman, and Eric Spicely. But then, as you guys know, lost 3 fights in a row, all by decision. And then now is coming over to the PFL to fight Tom Lawler. Mainly a wrestler. 10 wins and 7 losses. A lot of finishes, 5 submission wins, 4 knockout wins, and 2 decision wins. So I think Tom Lawler is going to be the wrestler in the fight, and Antonio Carlos Jr. is going to be the grappler in the fight. But Antonio Carlos Jr. very, very long and very, very lengthy, which is going to help him kind of close the distance a lot easier to get a takedown, get the fight in the clinch, and get on top of Tom Lawler. But that's going to be very hard as well, because Tom Lawler is also a wrestler here, so who knows how good a takedown defense Tom Lawler will have in the fight. That is going to be helping Antonio Carlos Jr. in the grappling and wrestling department. Striking isn't really too good. His last 3 losses were to very, very good strikers like Brad Tavares, Uriah Hall, and Ian Hylis, but he does make up for those striking disadvantages in the distance striking with the clinch strikes and the ground and pound strikes. 90% of his wins are submission wins, and most of them, and when I say most, are by rear naked choke submission. You look right here, rear naked guillotine. All right, let's see right here, guillotine. I mean, I don't even know where all the submissions at. I don't really know what's happening, bro, but pretty much every single one of the submissions are either by rear naked choke submission or guillotine choke submission. He gets you down and he tries to get your back and submit you in the first or second round. Yeah, but mainly guillotines and rear naked choke submissions. His takedown accuracy isn't really too good, but he was fighting some pretty good guys that had a very, very good takedown defense. Inside the UFC, like Uriah Hall, like Ian Hylis, and then like Brad Tavares, so it's understandable like that. But Tom Lawler is going to be the wrestler in the fight, as most of his wins, surprisingly, coming by submission, mainly by guillotine and rear naked choke submissions, just like Antonio Carlos Jr., which is very, very interesting. Has a takedown defense of 60%, which is very, very good as well. Pretty decent striking with some nice power as well. But I still think it's going to be very hard for him to kind of overcome the height and reach advantage from Antonio Carlos Jr. In the striking game right here. Has very good wrestling, but in this fight, I think it's just going to be who has the better wrestling. And in my opinion, that the person that's going to have the better wrestling and grappling and submission skills will be Antonio Carlos Jr. I think Tom Lawler is a little bit stronger than Antonio Carlos Jr., but Antonio Carlos Jr. is going to get the fight in the clinch, landed a lot of shots at the body, a lot of shots to the thigh, and then try to go for some takedowns on Tom Lawler. I think this is mainly going to be a wrestling, grappling, submission, jiu-jitsu based fight. In the striking game, I'll give a slight advantage to Antonio Carlos Jr., considering he's going to have the height and reach advantage in the fight. I'll give the power advantage in the striking game to Tom Lawler, the ground and pound advantage to Tom Lawler, but everything else, in my opinion, goes to Antonio Carlos Jr., so I think in the fight, the striking game will be very even. I'll give the advantage to Antonio Carlos Jr. So honestly, the fight stays on the feet for the entire 3 rounds. I have Antonio Carlos Jr. winning the fight, but obviously there are going to be instances where this fight goes to the ground, and one of these 2 fighters gets a takedown. Not really too sure if Tom Lawler is going to be the one going for the takedown, because he is a wrestler, but he is fighting a very, very good grappler in Antonio Carlos Jr., so we'll see what happens right here. But I think overall, Antonio Carlos Jr. has the better wrestling, the better grappling, the better striking, due to that height and reach advantage. So overall, I will be going with Antonio Carlos Jr. To go out there on short notice and go out there and win the fight by 30-27 unanimous decision.